What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today I am excited to share my favorite go-to meta pick and probably one of the most powerful decks I've played with in a very long time. Single Strike Urshifu is back to the forefront, or it's there for the first time depending on who you ask, and it is such a good card to consider given the way things are shaping up. If you enjoy the content, be sure to let me know in the comments below, like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It all helps. And with that said, let's dive right in. So why Urshifu? Why now? Has incredible typing. Fighting type has always been good in the card game. I've been playing almost 6-7 years, and it just seems like fighting always has a good advantage to it, given it hits lightning, it hits normal, and it hits dark. So that's 3 nice types. You hit a chunk of the pool, and if you stop and look at a lot of what's relevant right now, Urshifu hits it for weakness. Rhydon, Arceus, generally we're hitting some pretty relevant cards for weakness. It has some insane bulk at 330 hit points. So most decks like to cap out anywhere from 280 to 320 with the choice belt or with their damage cap. And Urshifu being able to soak that hit and then return a 1-hit KO back means you can snag 2, 4, 5 prizes. Hell, you can even get 6 prizes if you hunt down 2 VMAXs. I've done it. It's great. It's why I've leaned into it over some other single strike cards. Just being that big and that powerful is so good at this point. And I don't know if you've watched the EUIC, but some wall type cards just won the biggest event in Pokemon. So there are certain cards that like to put up effects or attacks or something in between that say you can't hit this card. So if you read Gmax 1 Blow, it says discard all the energy from this card. This attack's damage is not affected by effects on your opponent's active. Urshifu is a strong counter into the counter. It is very, very good to break through any existing walls or future walls down the line. Urshifu is your built-in answer. It's a 2-for-1. It's your beat stick and it's your wall breaker, and you gotta love that. Shoutouts to the little guy. Impact Blow, 3 energy, 180, plus, your single strike mods, but it can't attack the next turn. Most of the V Pokemon that evolve up are garbage, so this one being relevant is at least worth mentioning. So, for those of you unfamiliar with Single Strike, how did we play it before, if played at all? Because remember, it was a very fragile brick-heavy deck, and this is how the old setup went about. So we have our active, and on the first turn of the game, we are basically bending our deck every which way possible to get 3 to 4 Houndour on the bench. If you miss, if you only start 2, you're having a bad time. If you start 3, you're okay. If you start 4, that's the dream. That rarely happens though. And if you're lucky, right? If you've won the lottery, you get a second V. So not only do you have to set up your back line, you also have to have a V in the back, hoping your active is not knocked out. Turn 2, you then have to reacquire all the evolutions for your setup and your attacker. That's a lot to ask in the first 2 turns of the game, making this a very, very difficult deck to pilot because the RNG of a card game doesn't always guarantee this happening. So the old way was not the best way, and it immediately was relegated to the binder because. So I am here to pitch the new way. And I know, I'm ready for it. Let's go. Lugia V-Star. So we are relying on the evil of old format to help a favorite from the binder. So Lugia is here for Summoning Star. During your turn, put 2 colorless Pokemon that don't have a rule box from discard pile onto your bench. The Pokemon in question will be Archeops. Archeops, easier to set up. Houndoom. So they are much easier. We only need 2 Archeops throughout the run of a game. 1 we can still get by and not even miss a beat. It's really, really great. They're more efficient. Each Archeops gives us 2 energy rather than 1. It also does not hit us for damage if they accelerate out of the deck. So I think I'm not going to get into the whole thing of why Houndoom got nerfed unnecessarily, but anyway, they really did that card dirty. And it's more flexible. I've been jumping the gun, but We can grab Double Turbo, we can grab Gift Energy, we can grab V-Guard Energy, we can grab Single Strike Energy, and we can grab Impact Energy. Pretty much a bulk card for almost 2 years now. Impact Energy actually gets to see play because Archeops is not specific in what it needs to hunt. It just wants special energy, which is very, very nice. So overall, I'm giving it a nice, clean check mark. And keep in mind, I have been messing with the deck very, very often. I have taken it to a few tournaments. Nice 6-2 finish. The only losses in the deck were my own mistakes, so I believe the deck could have gone 8-0. So let's take a look at the deck list. So if you noticed, or if you looked into my previous video, that the skeletons are pretty much the same as what I covered in my recommendations for EUIC. However, we've modified. So we are running a 2-2 Urshifu VMAX. Having the extra copies is huge. We're playing the 2 Tyranitar to deal with our Dark Weak Pokemon. Radiant Serena because it messes with numbers for Lost Box. So Cramorant will go 110, 110. That would knock out a Pokemon V if they hit into it 2 consecutive turns. However, Radiant Serena will skew it just enough so that they need to 3-hit KO. Very, very useful. And if they try to pepper in damage for a setup or something, it also messes those numbers. Because I've noticed Giratina will try to do that, where they'll Sableye into something and then try to set you up. Anyway, those are specific matchups. And then our supporter line is pretty standard stuff. 3 Research, 2 Boss, 2 Judge, 1 Burnett. Burnett is a high value card in this deck. It gives us a plan B. Roxanne, Serena, and then we go very hard commit to the Capturing Aroma, which I am a fan of. Heads, you get an evolution. Tails, you get a basic. In this deck, if you pull something you don't need, you can just throw it away, and that's very nice. I'm playing 2 Escape Ropes because I noticed something in Lugia last format. Paralysis, Retreat Lock, anything that strands something in the active that you couldn't manually retreat out of, you were screwed. That's how they would kind of pin you down, wear you down, take you out. So 2 Escape Ropes. It works as a pseudo boss, so you can take something off your opponent's bench that you might want to hit into. So that's always good. We are playing 3 Tower of Darkness. So there will be games where Urshifu does not pull its weight. However, Urshifu is the main attacker in this deck, and I have attacked with the other cards maybe a handful of times. Urshifu is the main attacker of this deck because it is the best attacker in this deck. Tower of Darkness lets us throw away any additional single strike cards to draw 2. So it's built-in energy, so if we want to see more cards, we just keep digging. And then Impact Energy, as I mentioned, the Gift Energy, and Collapse Stadium is just a nice one-of. So we want 4 stadiums in the deck. No Pumpkaboo, no Dunsparce, because they are liabilities, and they are easy 60 hit point Pokemon for your opponent to work through. We want them working through a 7 to 8 prize game. Alright. So what are you doing when you're setting up? So there's a new approach with Lugia. So we have Lugia in the active. It could also be an Urshifu, but just keep in mind it's a Lugia. And then we typically want to back up Lugia. So if we're going first, we want 1 in the active, 1 on the bench. Some decks can hit us for weakness. Miraidon can certainly hit us for weakness. And then we want the Urshifu on the bench. If you feel like that's fine, whatever. But with the discard pile, do not go crazy taking out the Archeops. Because we mentioned Burnett, you have a backup plan. So if you can naturally throw away Archeops without overextending, anywhere from 1 to 4 or 0, but 1 to 4 is the dream. If you can get 2 in there the first turn, terrific. If not, we're not going to sweat over it. In the rare instance we are playing Miraidon specifically, we are going to put a second Urshifu V on the board. That any lightning type decks, we are going to put a second Urshifu on the board. If not, it is 2 Lugias and 1 Urshifu. That's the game plan going in if we went first. Second, the game plan is still pretty similar, except you have access to your supporters. Okay, so turn 2. What happens turn 2? Well, if we haven't bricked and we are online and that previous setup was pretty close to what we wanted, if not better, this is what we should be going into. So we have the active Lugia, we have the benched Lugia. We're going to evolve them up because it makes it a little harder to deal with them. So Cramorants can't, cheese their way through, or Sableyes can't cheese their way through. We have our 2 Archeops. The dream scenario is 2. I have won most of my games off the back of 1, because sometimes you only get the 1 Archeops. That's okay. Urshifu is our best attacker in this deck, so that beatdown attack is relevant more times than not. And then Tyranitar is just here for giggles. So it could be Tyranitar, it could be Serena, it could be Luminion, it could be whatever. Just keep in mind that you want a full bench so you can play Collapse Stadium. So with Collapse Stadium, if you're playing a deck that you know, Urshifu does not struggle into, or does struggle into, you can pick and choose. But typically, we're throwing away a Lugia. So the board state will look like Urshifu, Lugia, either another Tyranitar, or if we know we can take advantage, it'll be another Urshifu. And then we just run those 4. We want our opponent to force to bump those. So that is the ideal board state right there. That is what we're going into, and we're swinging hard. So Archeops is pretty good, pretty rolling. So matchups you're asking. Brandon, what does this deck beat that the basic ones, you know, couldn't handle? Well, Miraidon feels free. I lost to a Miraidon the other night because I made a bonehead mistake. I then proceeded to fix my mistake and destroy them. Beat down, 3 Single Strike Energy takes care of the Regieleki VMAX. 1 Single Strike Energy and attachments on the Urshifu deals with Miraidon. And they need, I think it's 3 Regieleki VMAX and a Choice Belt to knock out 1 Urshifu. So then it's just a matter of trying to clear your Lugias off the board as quickly as possible. So that one is pretty much free. Arceus V-Star. Remember beatdown I just mentioned? So 2 Single Strike Energy on a beatdown attack knocks out Arceus V-Star. Doesn't matter what they're paired with, whether it's Giratina, whether it's Goodra, whether it's whatever. Arceus is down first, so you basically go through that one first. It's a free one. Beatdown for free. We've got Goodra. Okay, so this one you think, oh, Rolling Iron makes it a 330 hit point monster. G-Max 1 blow doesn't care. You only have to fulfill the attack cost. It ignores Rolling Iron. It ignores V-Guard energy. G-Max 1 blow hits a base 270. Goodra's gone. It can't wall through you. Another free one. The Single Strike Tyranitar with the basics. So this is Lugia with the basics. The Stonjourners, the Tyranitars. So remember how I said some decks cap at 320? Tyranitar caps at 320. That's the hardest hitter of the deck. So you can sponge a hit, knock it out with the 1 blow, and then, or you can knock something out with the 1 blow. The best they can do is hit you for 320. You can knock them out, take 4 prizes, they take 3, and then you just figure out where your last 2 prizes are coming from. It's not bad. It's free. As long as you set up better than they do. Okay, so we've got some more matchups because I really liked highlighting the strengths of this deck. Giratina, free. So, Lost Impact doesn't get them there. They only have 1-star Requiem. We can set up 2 G-Max 1 blows through the run of the game. So we beat down or we Tempest Dive. Hell, we even put the V-Guard energy on Lugia just to make their numbers awkward so we can attack with Lugia. And then we can lean in with the Urshifu. But if we want to G-Max 1 blow them twice, usually after 2 Giratinas have gone down, they don't have the steam to keep up. And if it's an Arceus deck, we beat down the Arceus, and then we G-Max 1 blow this thing, and they're so far behind, then it's over. So unless a Judge Path sticks, or they pull the nuts off, no, they're done. Duraludon. This is what initially brought my mind to Urshifu. So this stupid card, God, I love it, but at the same time, this stupid card has an ability that prevents all special energy, Pokemon with special energy, from doing damage. So as a Rapid Strike player, I couldn't hit this thing. So I was looking at the Urshifu, and I was figuring out, how do I get it together? Well, Duraludon caps at 330, right? Remember, V-Guard energy is ignored by G-Max 1 blow. So if you were to establish 3 Single Strike energy with the additional 60 on it, G-Max 1 blow hits 330. Duraludon is the counter to special energy decks. Urshifu goes through the counter. Not a problem. And Duraludon just won the EUIC, so I expect to see an uptick in Duraludon for the next week or so. Mew VMAX. Okay, oh boy. So this one is for weakness. So this one here, and I'm not going to lie, is one that can be shaky. If they're playing Fusion Mew, they might beat you on tempo. If they are playing DTE Mew, we have the chance to set up because they're reliant on Judge to try to break our hand. And if they don't break it, you know, we play enough stadiums, we thin out enough. And Lugia has Tempest Dive, so you can Tempest Dive a Genesect, clear the path to the peak. So it's not too bad. But Tyranitar really pulls its weight here against Mew because you're trading 2 for 3. And if you set up better, you're fine. If they set up better, it's a shaky matchup because of weakness and weakness only. And with that said, we're going to jump into some games from this Thursday's Deck Out Gaming tournament. If you enjoy, let me know.